is still there in Calumet. And Grandpa Wilson opened up Wilson's Dry Goods. He became a merchant. And they lived above the store there while they had that.
And is that him standing in the front?
That is him standing in the front.
Sales every day.
This is not, this is Grandma's grandpa. Huh? Grandma's grandpa. Okay, her Grandma's
Remember?
grandfather.
Okay.
Okay?
It's E, not EB. No B.
Because it was her grandpa, she was our grandma, so it was our great.
Isn't that just one grade?
It would be mine.
Isn't that great?
And of course, yeah. And of course, then all that area settled, towns were established, the town of Calumet, and that's where they had their store and the car dealership and things like that. They all, and that's the picture, you can see, it has the date, the building date, what does that say, 1918, G.T. Wilson. And then that's the, that's the farm as it is right now. It's a picture we took. After harvest, it's all cut down thick. That. And then on the page back of it, again, there's the big combine, you know, big blue sky. And this is Jerry. He's the farmer that leases it. The property is still in the family. It has never left the family. It's gone down from generation to generation to generation.
Do you guys understand what that means?
And from the Oklahoma land rush, this is the same property. It has not been farmed by Wilson in a long time. In 1920, Grandpa Edward, sold the store, the merchandise store, and GT sold his car dealership. GT went to Kansas. You may remember Rose? Rose Stokes? That's GT's daughter.
That's the connection I've always wondered about.
He took his group to Kansas. And Grandpa Wilson, because his 3 children, Aunt May, Daddy Pa, and Aunt Lena, had all gone off to the University of Oklahoma. In the meantime, Aunt Clara, you know, one of Grandma
She married
Wilson's
Charlie
sisters,
Brose?
she married, and I'd like to, this is stuff we'll never know because never heard the story.
He looks just like
For summary, however she met him, however that connection was, she met a young man named Charles Browse, Uncle Charlie. She married him, and they moved to Riverside, California. Charlie Browse was the president of a bank. I think it was back then called the Bank of California. However, now it is Bank of America.
Just to clarify, Samantha Ella is the only one that we're related to. These people are her family. But we're not related to any of them? Just her. Did I get it wrong? Okay.
Samantha Ella,
Right?
mother. She's a mother. And this is the father.
These are her children.
These are their children.
I'm thinking one of
And-
the daughters was Samantha Ella.
No,
No,
Samantha
okay,
Ella is the
sorry.
mother. Okay? And Evelina, above her head,
Mm-hmm.
is our great-grandmother. Okay?
Okay, Evelina married
There.
Edward.
Edward.
Right, okay.
So, the kids are grown up over into the university. They're successful at the wheat farming, at the merchandise store. And this was, you know, kind of just before the things were getting bad, you know, what the depression, the dust bowl, stuff like that. I think he had good timing.
Yeah.
So they left because Clara had already moved to Riverside, California, and Aunt Clara.
California, oh gosh, okay.
That's how they ended up in California.
Aunt Clara. She had already moved. She moved out there with her new husband Charlie, and her mother and father, Ella and Bennett, Edward Cobb Bennett, had moved out there too. Mom and Papa had moved out there too. And eventually they all went out to California. So they're saying, come on out to California. Come out to California. The golden land. California was the golden land. And so they went out there. So Grandma and Grandpa Wilson kept the farm. So got lease farmers in there to sold the business and moved out to California. Well, when the Depression hit, because Grandpa Wilson had been successful,
A lot of money.
yeah, Uncle Charlie, at the bank, people would come in and want to borrow money. And they didn't have quite enough, they didn't have collateral to qualify for a bank loan or something like that. He would send them to Grandpa Wilson. And they would sign over their property as collateral or something like that, and then he would loan them some money. And defaulting on that is how Grandpa Wilson picked up a lot of properties around Southern California.
Oh, good, a loan shark. That makes things better.
Yeah.
Check the cash.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. Okay, so anyway, so that's Jerry, and his father before him leased those properties. He was the lease farmer in there. So this is a long time relationship between the same farm family back there. They have their own abutting properties and stuff too. But he leases and he grows the wheat on that farm, on that property there, which is still in our family and it's owned by us now. And but now, not just wheat, but it produces gas for us. Yay, gas.
Slave owners, land rakers.
Okay.
Bunch of frackers.
And then this is a picture of Grandma Wilson and Grandpa Wilson in their older age. This is a picture of the house that they eventually built on their property that replaced the soddy,
Any pictures of the Cridge house? Cridge Street house?
Find it.
A lot of memories.
Yeah. And then this Grandpa Wilson's obituary on the side there.
It looks like it said he
Backing
was
up a little
born.
bit, Debbie,
Huh?
backing up a little bit,
Uh-huh.
on a couple of pages when it talks about, I like to read about the, Edward Wilson.
Uh-huh.
Whoever wrote this, where it talks about Aunt Lena, she still lives with her daughter, Mrs. Lena Runyon, at the Cridge Street, Riverside. It talks about her teaching the Bible class,
Yes.
playing her organ.
That packable pump organ that we used to have.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
All the
the
moon
funny
shines
thing,
tonight on
I
the red wings.
Yeah.
Can I ask, fracking is a relatively recent thing, like, who decided to do that?
Wherever they're suffering or sorrow, she's there, offering genuine sympathy and tender sympathy.
It's a,
Yeah. Kim, you need to
Is that Elena or
Google
Aunt
and
May?
research.
Yeah,
Fracking is not new. Started about 1900.
What's that?
Really?
Yeah.
Fracking? Okay.
What is
So how long has that been done on the land?
Only in this last year. It's always for a number of years had gas wells on them.
I guess wells, okay.
This is a different type of retrieval.
I know.
no, the original one.
Right, the original wells are a different type of retrieval.
Evelina Linton Wilson, this 1897 to 1984, that's grandma, right? It shows all the places that she lived at.
No, Lena. That's Aunt Lena.
That's Aunt Lena.
Yeah.
She died in Reno, Oklahoma. I thought she died in California.
No, in El Reno.
It says Fort Reno, Oklahoma.
That's Evelina.
Is her place of death,
Evelina.
Evelina. That's the grandmother.
Okay. Now, it didn't copy very well, and this was not even done by my little HP printer back there. This was actually an Office Depot, and I thought it came out lousy. The original is hanging on the wall just inside the other room, if you want to look at that later, something like that.
1939.
Yeah, 1839.
1939.
1939, yes. And as you can see, there's Edward and Evelina, the older people there at the bottom. And their 3 children. Aunt May, upper right. Daddy Pa, another Edward, sitting down in the front row. And Lena, a short lady in the back row. And their children, Nell and Mom, Edward's daughters.
Which one is now?
Right here.
Middle left.
No, all the way over to
Looks like
Left.
the mother,
yeah. And then, of course, Aunt May was a missionary down in Mexico to the Christian church all of her life. She never married, never had any children. So the other 2, Anita and Bobby,
Elena's.
were Aunt Lena's kids.
Now, whose funeral did we go to in California? One of the, it was
Lena's.
Aunt Lena.
no, but it was a boy, a man. Did her son, is her son still?
Bobby's still alive.
Then it was Aunt Lena's and he was there, huh? Because we went to the funeral. Lena's funeral.
So sitting right next to, in the row 1, Daddy Pa, sitting next to Daddy Pa, that's May?
Mimi.
That's
Mimi.
Mimi.
Because our hole is right in there.
Yeah.
That's, I thought so, because I recognize the face.
And so she insisted on being on the front row.
So, after that picture, then you start, again, I started with Edward Wilson, the one that's in that section. And then it goes back through the entire Wilsons, both maternal and paternal. Again, it starts with a man. Then the next page will be his wife. And you'll do both of her lines, maternal and paternal, and then it'll go back to Wilson's.
So, in this picture, Aunt Lena's husband is not in, has he died already, or?
He left her, that was a big scandal.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
'Cause, I mean, that's
so
Lena
Jay
and
Wesley-
her children, right?
Yes.
Jay Wesley.
Jay Wesley was a preacher, kind of a revivalist, stuff like that. You know, he traveled around and
During
did
the Amy
revivals,
McPherson days and all
Amy
that.
McPherson days and things like that. Turns out, he kind of had a little honey in every one of the little towns that he circuited around to. They got divorced.
And she moved back with Mom.
In the 30s, huh? So May never married, Lena was divorced, and
Daddy Pa
Daddy Pa
was in his second marriage.
second marriage.
Yeah.
And then
So-
so Bobby
But anyway,
and Anita are
mhm.
Lena's children.
So, then the next section is all, the lineage papers for Wilson's. Okay? And Wilson's and Bennett's, okay? Again, there's some documentation in there that says, you know, where they served and different things. For instance, Thomas Bennett, you'll find it when you go through there like that. He was in the American Revolution, Connecticut Light Dragoons as a private. And there's just different, you know, there's different notations and stuff throughout there. And we're not gonna take time now to go all the way back through there. But one of my favorite ones, and I'm not sure, I'd have to keep flipping through it to find it, is Mahitable. That's a woman.
What's the last name?
Mahitable.
None of you guys got named after her, huh?
Mahitable Pippin. So of course that's a maternal, but Mahitable Pippin was born in 1668 in Boston, Suffolk, Massachusetts.
1668. Wow.
Edible.
Matilda Skinner, what, all this back here about these other names. They're connected to
They're
us?
connected, they're maternal names, you see? They're the wives of, you know,
Wilsons.
of
The Bennett's and Wilsons.
whatever, yeah.
Hittable, I wonder what that means.
I have no idea.
Look it up on the yeah.
Finders.
Is it spelled like it sounds?
Mahitable, there's an H in it, yeah. Just exactly like that.
Are we related to anybody famous?
Not Kamala Parker.
Okay, so, but you can go through those later on your own, because it's interesting to watch, and you just trace it all the way back through the different lineages and stuff like that, both fraternal and maternal. Move on to the next section. Okay. So, Emmett Cox and Nakayape had a daughter named Nell. Nellie Cox. You can go back to your chart or whatever, or look up here, you can't see it from there, but they had a daughter named Nellie Cox.
Mahitable means God rejoices.
Wow.
Oh, before I forget about it, I said if you want to see something that's really true and accurate about the Oklahoma land rush washed far and away, sacking of Osceola. Have you ever seen Clint Eastwood in Josie Wales the Outlaw? That's the sacking of Osceola.
You see that?
Okay. So, Nellie Cox, and then Edward Wilson and Evelina Bennett had Edward Bennett Wilson, forevermore known as E.B. Wilson. He signed papers that way, they called him that. Well, family called him Bennett, because that's his middle name. His mother and father called him Bennett.
So this is Daddy Pa.
Daddy Pa. Otherwise known as Daddy Pa. So that's the next session we're going to go into, because eventually they married. So, there's a picture of Daddy Pa in uniform, and another one when he was
Incarcerated?
10 years old. No, I put that in there. That's when the picture was taken in 1905. That's not his parole number. And then his papers, he was at balloon school, went through balloon school in Waco.
Balloon school.
Yeah.
Like clown college?
So bad I blow up those balloons.
Hindenburg.
Airships.
Airships. But it's called balloon school.
For you. French. Sorry, kids. I'm grabbing it.
Okay, so living out on the farm in Calumet, Daddy Pa, Aunt May, and Aunt Lena. Aunt Lena was a prodigy, so she was ahead of her grade school. Daddy Pa was in the middle, and Aunt May was the oldest. They kept them all there, and they all entered the University of Oklahoma at the same time. So all three of them were away at school.
Selena was young for going to college.
So they went. So they all started in 1914 at the University of Oklahoma. Okay? And the two girls lived in, I believe it was the Mitchell house, a boarding house, on campus, and shared a room. And Daddy Pa was at the Hardy house, another boarding house, and for men, because they didn't have those dormitories or anything like that back then. And back in 1986, it was after Daddy Pa had died, and it was delivered to Mom some things. A whole bunch of pictures, just memorabilia, a whole bunch of different things, stuff like that. And one of the things was this like alligator skin case, suitcase. And in it there was this big box of letters. And what it turned out to be were letters. I'm not sure that Grandma Wilson, Evelina, actually wrote back and forth to the girls. Those weren't saved, but these were back and forth letters between Bennett, or Daddy Pa. She called him Bennett, and his mother called him Bennett. Letters back and forth, correspondence. And through those 4 years that they were at the university. And Mom came up one time and she brought that with her. So she was showing me the stuff that was in them, all the different things that were in there. Nellie's buckskin dress was in there. University of Oklahoma yearbook. This box of letters and everything like that. Mom wouldn't let me hold on to them very long. So I went through every one of those letters, and in my, like I said, I've been collecting this information for, a couple of decades. I took notes on every letter, what the correspondence was about, and different dates, and what was happening just in the town there of Calumet, and stuff going on at the university, and different things and stuff like that. So now nobody knows where the letters are. They seem to have vanished. And I'm so glad that I sat down and took notes from every single one of those letters at that time. Because,
Mom had a lot of letters. I think this was after Nellie and Edward Bennett had married. And she was writing letters to